Hey y'all, how's it going? I don't do this very often because I don't record videos. I'm not a video blogger and I'm not some sort of a celebrity YouTuber or anything like that, but I've had something on my mind for a couple of days that I've wanted to get out some sort of comment or message about, start a discussion, but I didn't know how to do that. Typically I would write it, but what I have to say would take pages and pages and pages, and people wouldn't want to read that much. They might not even want to watch this, but it's easier to get the message out this way. What I have to say is not political, despite the fact that it has to do with recent political, or let me rephrase that. Despite the fact that it has to do with current events by something said by a president-elect, it actually has nothing to do with politics. So keep that in mind. Recently, President-elect Donald Trump made some comments I think that at this point we're all pretty familiar with, as far as lewd comments that were bragging about what he felt he had a right to do without asking to a woman. For those of you who don't know, making sexual advances on someone without asking or without their consent, that's sexual assault. So basically, a very public figure has bragged about sexual assault. Of course, I was disgusted by this, but as I waited for days to see sort of what the reaction would be, I watched my news feed. I watched my news feed from fellow Christians. I watched my news feed from other women. And I watched my news feed for Democrats, for Republicans, men, young men, the older adults I know. I really watched it specifically looking to see what the reaction would be to this. And I was sort of shocked. I noticed that not many men had much to say. Now again, this is just my personal news feed. Although I did actually do a minor experiment with a friend to see out of 10 guys how many spoke up saying that this was inappropriate, and only 1 out of 10 spoke up. In mine, I think it was 3 out of about 20 men that I specifically went to look at their profile. And I thought that was really interesting because I think our reaction is really important in a lot of aspects. If you're a Christian, because the Bible's pretty clear about, if you've decided to follow the Christian teachings, it's pretty clear about that kind of thing. And I'm not going to do your homework for you, but look it up. If you're not a Christian, still, it's morally wrong. It's not like we live in a culture that accepts that women are property. No, we live in the United States, so saying it's a cultural thing, which I've heard a lot of comments about, is just not okay. But that aside, as I watched my news feed, I got a message from somebody that I consider a stand-up guy. He is so kind and is always a gentleman, and like I said, he really fits your description. He's a Christian, so he lives by those values. He really fits that description of a real gentleman. But he messaged me, and I hadn't heard from him in a while. Actually, we don't really exchange private messages that often, other than when we first added each other, a civil hello, nice to see you, catch up. So he messaged me about a post that I had made already that said that the kind of language that Donald Trump, if we accept it, that is perpetuating rape culture. We are allowing rape culture to continue. And he messaged me wanting to discuss. He was not angry, not combative, but he did want to discuss my post. He said he was offended by it, and that he didn't understand how I could say that. Rape is a very strong word, and it is. And he could not understand that to compliment a woman or admire a woman, her physical traits, or even sort of say, man, she's got nice whatever, that is very different than bragging about sexual assaults. And we talked about it back and forth, and at first I wasn't really bothered. I explained my position, he explained his. We couldn't quite get on the same terms about it, but it was a good conversation. I told him I would elaborate later, because I didn't want him to think that I was saying that, oh, just because a man compliments a woman, or even lust, because that's a human emotion, that is rape, or that is rape culture. And so I told him later I would explain what I meant by that. And being who I am, I'm not just going to explain it. I wanted to think on it for several days. And as I thought on it, I started realizing that I was really bothered by the fact, not necessarily that he messaged me, but by the fact that, we don't really keep up, but he was so impassioned by defending these words, defending crude guy talk, as he referred to it. He was so impassioned about that. But to my experience, I hadn't seen a lot of passionate standing up for victims of sexual assault, or anything said about current events in the sense of Brock Turner, the Stanford rapist, anything like that. So I thought it was really interesting that he was so impassioned to defend this guy talk and to message me. And again, which I am open to discussing, absolutely. But it really got me, thinking, why are we so passionate about defending this locker room talk and this guy talk, and yet where's your passion for defending victims? And so that brought up a really important question that I don't know the answer to. We talked, basically when it boiled down to it, it came to a misunderstanding of what is rape culture. And I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to say, for some reason, women inherently understand what rape culture is. Most women totally understand what that means, while men do not. So I don't know if I have the magic words. I don't know if I have what it takes to explain to someone what rape culture is. And I asked a couple of friends, females, what it meant to them, and it was hard for us to come up with it. And we talked about things that maybe it starts whenever, for example, again, this is not rape and it's not sexual assault, but again, it sort of plants that seed of questionable behavior. For example, when you're in elementary school and say a little boy pulls your hair and you turn around, you hit him. Well, granted, you shouldn't hit people, but there's those instances where the little girl will get in trouble or told not to be so sensitive, and the little boy is told either A, nothing, or B, don't do that. But on the side is sort of like giving a little, good job, buddy, you flirting. Well, she was not open to that. Now, again, that seems really minor. But, again, that's when I talk to women that I know, that's kind of what we came down to, is it starts not just, in the locker room, per se, as this was referred to, but it starts younger than that. But I would actually really like to know what other women perceive as rape culture. Where do we draw that line? What are we offended by? I am no saint. I am human just like anybody else. I am friends with a lot of guys. Anybody that knows me knows that I can cut up and hang out with the guys as good as anybody. I have stood around, listened to crude talk probably, even laughed at some of it. But there's a difference between crude talk and bragging about sexual assault. And I'm just wondering, what is acceptable? Where do we draw that line? Again, is it only not acceptable from dirty old men? Oh, well, he's a dirty, old man. He looks nasty. Or do we accept it from anybody? Here's a famous person, who's pretty popular right now, and it's being really looked upon by people of all backgrounds as acceptable. So I just don't understand what would not be acceptable. I guess those are my questions. What is not acceptable other than the act? How do we stop it from getting that far? And B, what does rape culture mean to you? Because maybe someone else can explain it in a way that I can't. All I know is that to brag about forcing yourself on someone is sexual assault bragging. I mean, again, that was repetitive, but you get the point. Bragging about forcing yourself on someone without consent is wrong. And for us, especially women, I don't think that you should be, change your vote. This is not about politics, but as a woman, I want us to think about, I know a lot of women are saying, oh, well, he's just being one of the guys. When do we stop that? Would we allow our daughter to go out with someone, or a niece, or a female relative, or anyone that we cared about? Would we allow them to go out with someone that just said, I just grab them by the whatever and do what I want, basically? I wouldn't let anybody I cared about out with that. There's a difference between not wanting, your daughter or someone to go out on their first date because boys are boys. But then there's a difference between letting them out of the house with someone that has said something like that. Why would we hesitate? Because we wouldn't know what those words would lead to. So again, this is an unpolished video. I'm not a video blogger. I'm not, anything except a person who cares about this topic. And I want people to understand what is wrong and what is right. And I want men to join in. Seeing about 10% of the guys in my newsfeed, either some of them said something or shared a video, but the fact that I had to go search them out to find allies, guys, they like to, at least in the South, I know, they carry the title of Southern charm and chivalry still. But yet you have nothing to say when something like this is said. Oh, it's acceptable, it's just guy talk. Maybe I'm naive, maybe it is guy talk, but which it's not, but if it was talk, it's still unacceptable. That means that now that we know it's a problem and that it is said, if this is said in y'all's locker rooms or any locker room, then this is where we stop it. This is an opportunity for us to say, oh, is this locker room talk? Well, then let's clear this up. That's not okay. So again, I just had a lot to say. Someone could have said it more polished. Go watch, I think his name's Trevor Noah on The Daily Show. He had some great stuff to say about it. I just want you to really reflect on that. And if anybody has an answer that they can help guys who don't understand this, who truly are looking for answers to understand this and don't understand why complimenting a woman or admiring a woman or lusting after a woman is different than saying something that perpetuates rape culture. If anybody has some sort of answer for that, please share. Please spread the word, because bottom line is sexual assault is wrong from anyone. All right, y'all have a good one.